Let's get one thing straight. Disappointment is inevitable. People will let you down, ignore you, betray your trust, or fail to meet your expectations. And when that happens, what do? Do you react? Do you chase them for an explanation? Do you drown in frustration and let their behavior dictate your emotional state? Here's the hard truth. Every time you react, you surrender your power. Think about it. How many times have you lost yourself in the whirlwind of emotions because of someone else's actions? How many times have you let their inconsistency, their indifference, or their withdrawal control your peace of mind? The moment you react, you give them the keys to your emotions. But what if there was another way? What if, instead of reacting, you chose acceptance? What if you stood firm like an unshakable mountain while they expected you to collapse? What if your calmness, your indifference to their actions, confused them instead of giving them satisfaction? This is the power of Stoicism. This is the strength of mastering your emotions and refusing to be a pawn in someone else's emotional chess game. In this journey, we will uncover why acceptance is the most powerful response and how it transforms your relationships, your mindset, and ultimately your life. You might be wondering, how does acceptance make me stronger? Doesn't it mean I'm just letting people walk all over me? That's a common misconception. Acceptance is not about being passive. It's not about tolerating disrespect. It's about understanding what you can and cannot control and refusing to waste energy on things outside of your power. By the end of this, you will have a new way of looking at disappointment. You will see it not as a moment of weakness, but as an opportunity to reclaim control. And when you do, those who once confused you, hurt you, or disappointed you will suddenly find themselves puzzled by your calmness. Ready to shift your perspective? Let's begin. 1. The power of acceptance over reaction. Imagine this. You're standing by a serene lake, its surface smooth like glass. Suddenly, someone hurls a stone into the water. Ripples form, expanding outward, but soon the lake regains its stillness. No matter how many stones are thrown, the water eventually returns to its natural state. This is how your mind should be when faced with disappointment. A momentary disturbance, a brief recognition of the event, and then calm. But let's be honest, how often do we actually react like this? How often do we let someone's inconsistency, someone's indifference, send waves of chaos through our emotions? Instead of being the lake, we become the storm, throwing ourselves into frustration, overanalyzing every detail, replaying conversations in our heads, trying to make sense of what went wrong. The reality is, every time we react emotionally, we give away control. So ask yourself, why do I react? What am I trying to achieve by responding emotionally to disappointment? Many believe that if they express their feelings, if they show their hurt, their frustration, their confusion, then the other person will understand, change, or at least acknowledge them. But has that ever truly worked? When has reacting emotionally ever made someone respect you more, value you more, or suddenly treat you the way you deserve? It never does. Instead, it reinforces the dynamic where the other person holds the power while you chase, while you seek validation, while you hand them control over your emotional well-being. This is where the power of acceptance comes in. Acceptance is not about pretending something doesn't bother you. It's not about suppressing your emotions. It's about choosing your response rather than letting emotions dictate it for you. When you accept someone's actions for what they are without reacting, without begging for explanations, without demanding different behavior, you maintain control. You are no longer a participant in their emotional games. You step out of the cycle entirely. And this is where things shift. When you stop reacting, you confuse them. They expect anger. They expect frustration. They expect you to fight for clarity. But when you don't, When you simply acknowledge their actions for what they are and carry on with your life, they start questioning themselves instead of you. They wonder why you're unbothered. They begin to realize that their actions no longer hold power over you. This is a fundamental principle of Stoicism. The idea that you do not control external events, only your response to them. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Every time you react to someone's disappointment, you are focusing on something outside your control. You are trying to change their behavior, trying to influence their emotions, trying to get them to see your worth. But the truth is, that's not where your power lies. Your power lies in mastering your mind, in controlling your response, in choosing peace over emotional chaos. Consider this. If someone ignores you, if someone withdraws, if someone fails to show up in the way you expected, what does reacting accomplish? Do they suddenly realize your value? Do they suddenly change? Or do they retreat even further, knowing they've successfully triggered a reaction? You already know the answer. Every time you react, you are confirming to them that they have an effect on you, and people are drawn to what is unpredictable, to what they cannot control. The moment they see that their absence, their coldness, or their inconsistency no longer shakes you, they feel the shift. They wonder why they no longer have the same effect. They start to question what changed. This is why the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to react. Not as a game, not as a manipulation tactic, but as a genuine commitment to your own peace. When you stop reacting, you take back your power. You're no longer a puppet being pulled by the strings of someone else's actions. You are the master of your emotions, and that mastery is what sets you apart. Think of the most composed, self-assured people you know. Do they react wildly to every disappointment, or do they remain unshaken, grounded in their own self-worth? Strength is found in that stillness. But let's be clear, acceptance does not mean you tolerate mistreatment. It does not mean you allow people to walk all over you. It means you acknowledge reality as it is. You recognize that their behavior is a reflection of them, not of you. You stop internalizing their choices as if they define your worth. The moment you do this, you gain a new level of emotional freedom. You're no longer chasing people who don't value you. You're no longer exhausting yourself trying to make someone understand your perspective. Instead, you are moving forward, focused on what truly matters, your growth, your peace, and your ability to remain unshaken in the face of disappointment. So the next time someone pulls away, the next time someone lets you down, pause. Resist the urge to react. Take a deep breath and remind yourself, their actions reflect them, not me. I am in control of my emotions. I choose peace over reaction. Watch as the power dynamic shifts. Watch as your silence, your calmness, your acceptance unsettles them in a way your anger never could. This is not about indifference. It's about mastery. It's about choosing strength over reactivity, self-respect over desperation. And when you embrace this mindset, you become untouchable. 2. Detachment, freeing yourself from their validation. Why do we care so much about what other people think of us? Why do we tie our self-worth to their approval, their attention, their validation? It's because we've been conditioned to believe that our value is something external, that it's measured by how others perceive us. But here's the truth. As long as you seek validation from others, you will always be at their mercy. You will always feel the need to prove yourself, to chase after their approval, to react when they disappoint you, because deep down, you believe their actions define you. But they don't. They never did. And the sooner you detach from that illusion, the more powerful you become. Think about it. How many times have you allowed someone's lack of response, their indifference, their sudden withdrawal to consume your thoughts? How many times have you replayed conversations in your head, overanalyzed texts, or waited anxiously for a sign that they still care? That's because you've placed your sense of worth in their hands. But what happens when you take it back? What happens when you decide that their validation, or lack of it, has nothing to do with your value? That's when everything changes. That's when you regain control. Detachment is the key. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about people. It doesn't mean you become cold or emotionless. It means you stop letting their actions dictate your self-worth. It means you recognize that their inconsistency, their disappointment, their failure to meet your expectations has nothing to do with you. It's a reflection of them, their priorities, their emotional state, their limitations. And when you accept this, you free yourself from the endless cycle of needing their approval. Imagine this: you send a message and they don't reply. The old you would panic, wonder what went wrong, overthink every word. The new you shrug, put your phone down and continue with your day. You detach. You recognize that their silence is not a reflection of your worth, but of their own choices. And when you do this, when you truly embrace detachment, you become untouchable. Suddenly, you're no longer controlled by their lack of attention. You no longer feel the urge to chase, to seek, to react. You stand firm in the knowledge that your worth is not up for debate. And here's the unexpected part. The moment you detach, they start noticing. Why? Because people are drawn to what they cannot control. They are intrigued by what does not seek their approval. When you stop reacting, when you stop proving yourself, when you stop needing their validation, they begin to wonder why. They start questioning their own significance in your life. And that shift, that moment when they realize they no longer have a hold on you, is when the dynamic changes. Now ask yourself, how much time have I wasted waiting for someone to validate me? How many moments of happiness have I sacrificed because I was too focused on what someone else thought of me? And the more important question, how much longer am I willing to live this way? If you truly want to take back your power, you must let go of the need for external validation. You must find that validation within yourself. You must remind yourself every single day that your value is not something that fluctuates based on someone else's behavior. It is constant. It is unshakable. And when you finally believe that, you will stop reacting. You will stop chasing. You will stop looking for approval in places that were never meant to define you in the first place. So here's a challenge for you. The next time someone disappoints you, the next time they pull away, the next time they don't give you the response you expected, pause. Instead of reacting, instead of overanalyzing, instead of seeking an explanation, just accept it. Let it be. Detach. Watch how liberating it feels to not be controlled by their actions. Watch how, without even trying, you start confusing them. Because they expect you to react, they expect you to need them, and when you don't, when you simply continue living your life with confidence and self-assurance, that's when you reclaim your power. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop chasing validation and start living on your own terms, like this video and comment number 1 below. Let me know that you're stepping into your power. And if you want to continue this journey with me, hit that subscribe button and let's transform our mindset together. The road to true freedom starts here. 3. Silence is a statement, not weakness. Silence is one of the most powerful tools you can use in the face of disappointment. Yet most people misunderstand it. They assume that silence means weakness, passivity, or surrender. But the truth is, silence is often the loudest statement you can make. It's a demonstration of control, discipline, and an unwavering sense of self-respect. When someone disappoints you, your instinct might be to confront them, demand answers, or seek closure. But ask yourself, what does that truly accomplish? Does it make them respect you more? Does it change what has already happened? More often than not, it does the opposite. It makes them see that their actions have affected you, that you are emotionally invested in their choices. And the moment they realize that, they hold the power. Now imagine a different response. Imagine they disappoint you, they pull away, they act inconsistently, and instead of reacting, you choose silence. You do not explain, you do not plead, you do not ask for clarity. You simply step back and continue living your life. That silence unsettles them. It makes them wonder, why aren't you reacting? Why aren't you chasing after an explanation? Why aren't you trying to fix things? That uncertainty is what shifts the dynamic. Suddenly, they are the ones questioning. They are the ones left, wondering, and in that moment the power has shifted. People expect reactions. They expect an argument, a confrontation, or at the very least an emotional outburst. But when they are met with silence, they are forced to sit with their own actions. They have nothing to push against, no resistance to justify their behavior, no emotional response they can use to regain control. Instead, they are left to face themselves, and that in itself is often more powerful than any words you could say. Silence is not avoidance. It is not about ignoring your emotions or pretending something doesn't matter. It is about choosing where to invest your energy. It's about understanding that not everything requires a response, and that some things, some disappointments, some betrayals, some rejections are best met with nothing at all. Because in the end, what truly matters is not how they see you, but how you see yourself. Do you see yourself as someone who needs to explain, to justify, to prove your worth to people who have already shown you who they are? Or do you see yourself as someone who values their peace too much to engage in unnecessary emotional battles? This is where Stoicism comes into play. Stoicism teaches that our reactions should be measured, intentional, and rooted in self-control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This philosophy applies perfectly here. When faced with disappointment, the choice is yours. Do you react emotionally and give away your power, or do you maintain your composure and let silence speak for you? Think back to the times when you have reacted impulsively. Did it make you feel stronger? Did it bring you closer to a resolution? Or did it leave you feeling drained, frustrated, and powerless? Now consider the times you have remained silent, when you have walked away without explanation, when you have simply let go instead of holding on. In those moments, didn't you feel a sense of control? A quiet strength that came from knowing you did not need to prove anything to anyone? This is not about playing games. It's not about using silence as a strategy to manipulate others. It is about recognizing that your peace is worth more than any argument, any justification, or any attempt to force someone to acknowledge your feelings. When you stop reacting, when you stop explaining, when you simply let your silence be the answer, you reclaim your power. But let's be honest, choosing silence is not always easy. It requires discipline. It requires resisting the urge to respond, to clarify, to demand understanding. It requires trusting that the right people will not need constant explanations, and that those who do were never truly meant to be in your life in the first place. The discomfort of silence is temporary, but the peace it brings, that is lasting. So the next time someone disappoints you, pause. Instead of reacting, take a deep breath. Ask yourself, does this situation deserve my energy? Will my words change anything, or am I just feeding into a cycle that only drains me further? And if the answer is no, then let silence be your response. Let your lack of reaction speak for you. Because when you do, you send a powerful message, not just to them, but to yourself. A message that says, I do not need to fight for respect. I do not need to chase after validation. I do not need to explain my worth. I am enough, and my silence is proof of that. 4. Setting healthy boundaries through acceptance. Many people mistake acceptance for weakness. They assume that if you accept someone's behavior without reacting, you're simply tolerating disrespect or letting them walk all over you. But that's not true. Acceptance is not about allowing mistreatment. It's about recognizing reality as it is and setting firm boundaries that protect your peace. When you stop reacting emotionally to disappointment, it doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're choosing to focus on what you can control: your own actions, your own energy, and most importantly, your own boundaries. Boundaries are essential in every relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, a coworker, or even a family member. Without them, you become vulnerable to manipulation, guilt-tripping, and emotional exhaustion. But here's the key. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about controlling yourself. You can't force people to treat you better. You can't make them respect you. But you can decide what you will and will not tolerate. You can decide how much access someone has to your life. And you can decide when to walk away from situations that drain you. Think about the last time someone disappointed you. Maybe they kept making promises they never kept. Maybe they pulled away without explanation. Maybe they treated you like an option instead of a priority. How did you respond? Did you let it slide, hoping they would change? Did you react emotionally, trying to get them to see how much their actions hurt you? Or did you calmly set a boundary and remove yourself from the situation? This is where Stoicism comes in. A Stoic understands that external events, including other people's behavior, are beyond their control. What matters is how you respond. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful responses you can have. It shows that you value yourself enough to protect your peace, no matter what others do. But setting boundaries isn't just about saying no, it's about enforcing them with action. If someone repeatedly disrespects your time, a boundary isn't just telling them to stop, it's deciding that you won't continue engaging with them in the same way. If someone treats you with inconsistency, a boundary isn't demanding that they change. It's deciding that you won't invest energy in someone who doesn't value your presence. When you enforce boundaries, you make it clear that your peace is non-negotiable. And here's the interesting thing. People notice. They expect you to react, to beg, to try harder. But when you don't, when you simply set your boundary and move forward, that's when they realize they can't manipulate you. That's when they see that their actions no longer affect you the way they used to. At first, setting boundaries might feel uncomfortable. If you're used to over-explaining, justifying your feelings, or tolerating behavior that drains you, standing firm might feel foreign. But the more you practice, the stronger you become. Over time, you'll notice something incredible. Your relationships improve. Why? Because boundaries filter out those who take advantage of you and attract those who respect you. People who truly value you will never be offended by your boundaries. They will appreciate them. But those who benefit from your lack of boundaries, they will resist. They will test you. They will try to make you feel guilty. That's when you know your boundaries are working. This is the moment where you must choose. Will I prioritize my own well-being, or will I continue to tolerate behavior that disrupts my peace? The choice is always yours. No one can make it for you. But the moment you choose yourself, the moment you decide that protecting your peace is more important than pleasing others, that's the moment you step into your power. You don't need to announce your boundaries. You don't need to explain them. You simply live by them. And when someone crosses them, you act. No arguing, no justifying, just action. So the next time someone disappoints you, instead of reacting, take a step back and ask yourself, what is my boundary here? What am I willing to accept? And if this behavior continues, what am I willing to do about it? When you master this mindset, you become unshakable. You no longer waste energy on trying to change people. You simply decide what you will and won't accept, and you move accordingly. That is real power. If this message resonates with you, If you're ready to start setting boundaries and protecting your peace, like this video and comment number 1 below, let me know that you are stepping into your strength. And if you want to keep learning how to master your emotions, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a lesson. Your transformation starts now. 5. Shifting focus, investing in yourself instead. When someone disappoints you, it's easy to make them the center of your thoughts. You replay their words, their actions, their silence, searching for meaning, wondering where you went wrong, questioning whether you could have done something differently. This mental loop becomes exhausting, draining your energy and leaving you feeling powerless. But here's the truth: every moment you spend analyzing their behavior is a moment stolen from your own growth. Every ounce of energy you invest in trying to understand them is energy that could have been used to build yourself into the person you want to be. The real question is, why do we give so much of ourselves to people who don't even consider us a priority? The answer lies in habit. We are conditioned to believe that if someone pulls away, we need to pull them back. If someone stops giving us attention, we need to earn it again. If someone disappoints us, we need to resolve the conflict, fix the situation, make it right. But what if you shifted your focus? What if, instead of chasing after their attention, you redirected all that energy back to yourself? Imagine what would happen if, instead of overthinking their absence, you started pouring into your own passions, your own happiness, your own future. This is where Stoicism becomes your guide. A Stoic understands that the only thing within their control is themselves, their thoughts, their actions, their mindset. They do not waste time trying to control external circumstances or other people's choices. They focus entirely on what they can change, their own life. So when someone disappoints them, they do not dwell on it. They acknowledge it, accept it, and move forward with their own goals. They do not sit around waiting for someone to make things right. They make things right by shifting their energy towards something that truly matters: themselves. Think about the last time you invested deeply in yourself. When was the last time you pursued a goal with full commitment? Not because you wanted to prove something to someone else, but because it genuinely brought you joy. When was the last time you worked on your physical health, your mental clarity, or your personal development, not to impress anyone, but simply because it made you feel powerful? If you can't remember, it's because your focus has been misplaced. It has been tangled in things outside your control. But here's the good news: you can take it back. Every time you shift your attention from them to you reclaim a piece of your power. Instead of wondering why they haven't texted you back, you invest that time into reading, learning, creating. Instead of replaying conversations in your head, you use that mental energy to strategize your next move in life. Instead of waiting for someone to validate you, you validate yourself by accomplishing something meaningful. And here's the interesting part: when you do this, people start noticing. They sense the shift. They feel the change. Suddenly, you are no longer someone who reacts to them. You are someone who is too busy growing to care about their inconsistency. And that is when the dynamic changes. Why does this work? Because confidence and self-investment are magnetic. People are naturally drawn to those who are focused, disciplined, and committed to their own purpose. When you stop seeking approval and start thriving on your own, you become someone others admire, someone they want to be around. But by the time they realize this, you no longer need their attention. You have outgrown the version of yourself that once waited for them. This shift is not just about attracting better people, it's about becoming a better person. When you invest in yourself, your life transforms in ways you never expected. You start making decisions that align with your true values. You start eliminating distractions that no longer serve you. You build confidence, not because someone else finally recognized your worth, but because you created something valuable with your own hands. And that kind of confidence cannot be taken away. But let's be real, this shift takes discipline. It's easier to sit in disappointment, to keep checking your phone, to stay stuck in old habits of seeking validation. Growth requires effort. It requires consciously choosing to direct your energy into yourself, even when you're tempted to fall back into old patterns. It means replacing the habit of overthinking with the habit of action. Instead of obsessing over them, you take control of your life. You start the business. You build the skill. You work on your fitness. You expand your mind. And with each step forward, their importance fades into the background. So ask yourself right now, what have I been neglecting in my own life because I've been too focused on someone else? What dreams have I put on hold? What goals have I let slip away? The time to refocus is now. The energy you have been wasting on disappointment is the same energy that could be used to build something great. The only difference is where you choose to direct it. A person who invests in themselves does not fear loss. They do not chase. They do not wait for validation. They are too focused on their own growth to be distracted by someone else's inconsistency. And that is the kind of person who thrives, not just in relationships, but in life. So today, make the decision. Shift your focus. Take your energy back. And watch as everything changes. 6. The unexpected effect, making them question their actions. There is something powerful about a person who no longer reacts, a person who, instead of chasing, questioning, or demanding, simply lets go. It is unsettling for those who expect to control your emotions, for those who are used to pulling away and seeing you run after them. When you stop reacting, when you shift your focus back to yourself and embrace acceptance, something unexpected happens. They start questioning themselves. They begin to wonder why their usual tactics no longer work. They feel the absence of your energy, and it creates a void they can't ignore. People are conditioned to believe that their actions will generate a response. When they disappoint you, they expect anger. When they pull away, they expect confusion. When they go silent, they expect you to reach out. But what happens when none of that occurs? When they are met with silence instead of reaction, suddenly they are forced to confront themselves. They no longer have an external force to validate or challenge them. They are left alone with their own decisions, and that can be a very uncomfortable place for them. Think about it. When someone stops reacting to you, don't you start wondering why? If someone who used to give you attention suddenly becomes indifferent, doesn't it make you curious? You might question whether you did something wrong, whether they've moved on, whether they've realized something you haven't. This is human nature. We crave control over how others see us, and when that control is taken away, we feel unsteady. Now apply this to the person who disappointed you. When they see that you no longer react to their inconsistency, when they realize that their absence no longer affects your emotional state, they begin to wonder what changed. They may assume at first that you are just pretending, that you are playing a game. But as time passes and you remain unbothered, the reality starts to sink in. You are no longer the same person. You have evolved. And that, more than anything, shakes them. This is where Stoicism becomes a game changer. Instead of reacting emotionally, instead of giving them the validation of your frustration, you simply observe. You watch without engaging. You let them deal with their own choices. And in doing so, you send a message. I'm no longer controlled by your actions. I'm the master of my own emotions. That message is more powerful than any words you could ever say to them. But here's the key. This is not about manipulation. You are not doing this to make them chase you. You are not trying to create an artificial sense of scarcity to make yourself appear more valuable. This is not a tactic. It is a transformation. You genuinely stop reacting because you have outgrown the need to. You have shifted your focus entirely to your own growth. Their confusion is simply a side effect of your evolution, and that's when the tables turn. When they start realizing they can no longer predict your behavior, when they see that their actions no longer provoke a response, they begin to question everything. Did I make a mistake? Did I misjudge them? Why aren't they reacting the way I expected? These thoughts will occupy their mind far more than any emotional outburst from you ever could. At this point, they may try to test you. They might reach out subtly just to see if they still have an effect on you. A random text, a comment on your post, a sudden reappearance in your life. Why? Because they need to know if you are really different or if this is just temporary. But by then, you have already stepped into a new level of self-awareness. You see their attempts for what they are, not genuine efforts to change, but mere curiosity, an attempt to regain control over a situation they no longer understand. And this is where you face your true test. Do you fall back into old habits? Do you take the bait and start reacting again, or do you remain steady, maintaining the peace you worked so hard to cultivate? The choice is yours. But if you have truly embraced acceptance, if you have genuinely detached from their validation, you will find that their actions no longer move you. Their presence or absence no longer determines your emotional state. And when they realize this, that's when they truly understand that they have lost their hold over you. But let's take this a step further. What if you no longer even cared whether they questioned their actions? What if their confusion, their regrets, their thoughts about you became completely irrelevant to your journey? That is the final stage of detachment, the point where you no longer need to prove anything, where their realization of your worth no longer matters, because by then you are already too busy living your best life, and that is the ultimate freedom. So take a moment right now and ask yourself, have I been living my life in reaction to others? Have I been giving my power away by letting their behavior dictate my emotions? If the answer is yes, then now is the time to change. Now is the time to reclaim your focus, to shift your energy, to become someone who is truly unshaken by external circumstances. If this message resonates with you, if you are ready to step into this level of self-mastery, like this video and comment number 1 below. Let me know that you are done reacting, that you are ready to embrace your own power. And if you want to keep learning how to build a mindset of strength and clarity, hit that subscribe button. This journey is just getting started, and I promise you, it will change everything. 7. The role of self-compassion and forgiveness. There's a part of you that may still struggle with this concept of acceptance, not because you don't believe in it, but because deep down, you wonder if letting go means betraying your own emotions. You wonder if choosing silence, if refusing to react, means suppressing how you feel. And more than that, you might struggle with forgiving yourself for the times you did react, for the times you gave your energy away, for the moments when you let someone else dictate your emotions. This is where self-compassion comes in, because mastering acceptance isn't just about how you respond to others. It's about how you treat yourself. It's about giving yourself the grace to grow, to evolve, and to make mistakes along the way. The journey toward emotional mastery is not a straight path. There will be days when you react, when you slip back into old patterns, when you feel the pull to chase validation. And when that happens, what will you do? Will you criticize yourself? Will you spiral into guilt and self-blame? Or will you choose to respond to yourself with kindness, the same way you would comfort a friend? Too often, we are our own harshest critics. We replay our past mistakes. We analyze our weaknesses. We dwell on the times we let someone get the best of us. But let's ask an important question. What does self-blame actually accomplish? Does it make you stronger? Does it undo the past? Or does it simply keep you stuck in the same cycles of self-doubt? The answer is clear. Growth cannot happen in an environment of self-criticism. Growth happens when you acknowledge your past, without being bound by it. When you recognize, yes, I used to react emotionally. Yes, I used to seek validation. Yes, I used to lose myself in disappointment. But that was then, and I am evolving now. This brings us to the second piece of this puzzle: forgiveness. And not just forgiveness for yourself, but for those who have disappointed you. Forgiveness is a difficult concept because many misunderstand it. They think that forgiving someone means excusing their behavior, condoning their actions, or welcoming them back into their life. But that's not what true forgiveness is. True forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It is the act of releasing the emotional burden that you have carried because of someone else's actions. It is choosing to no longer let their behavior define your present. Consider this: how much emotional space do the people who have disappointed you still occupy in your mind? How often do their actions, their words, their absence still affect your thoughts, your moods, your energy? That is the weight of unforgiveness. It's the invisible chain that keeps you tied to a past that no longer serves you. And the only way to break that chain is to decide, I am no longer carrying this with me. Not for them, not to make them feel better, but for your own freedom. Forgiveness is not reconciliation. It does not mean you allow them back into your life. It does not mean you pretend nothing happened. It means you make peace with the past so that it no longer controls you. It means you understand that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. You are the one carrying the weight. You are the one feeling the pain. And so, you are the only one who can choose to release. This is what Stoicism teaches. Mastering your emotions is not just about withholding reaction in the moment. It's about understanding what is truly worth your energy and what is not. And resentment, anger, regret, these things do not serve you. They do not make you stronger. They keep you trapped in a reality where you are still emotionally connected to someone who has already moved on. But the moment you decide, I am no longer holding on to this, I am no longer giving this person space in my mind, that is the moment you reclaim yourself. And here's the beautiful thing: when you truly forgive, when you truly let go, when you release not just the person, but the emotional grip they had on you, you will feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Peace. Not temporary relief, not distraction, but a deep, unshakable peace that comes from knowing that nothing outside of you holds power over you anymore. That peace is priceless. That peace is freedom. So take a deep breath. Think about all the moments you've carried with you, the disappointments, the regrets, the times you wish you had acted differently, and instead of letting them weigh you down, choose to see them as stepping stones. Every experience, every reaction, every mistake has led you to this point of awareness. And now you get to decide what comes next. You get to decide whether you stay in the past or whether you step fully into the person you are becoming. Because the truth is, you are already growing. You are already changing. The very fact that you are here, reflecting on these ideas, proves that you are evolving. And the only thing left to do is trust yourself. Trust that the work you are doing on detachment, on acceptance, on self-mastery is leading you somewhere better. Trust that every time you choose peace over reaction, every time you choose to invest in yourself instead of chasing validation, you are building something unbreakable within you. And one day, you will look back and realize that the things that once had power over you no longer do. That is true strength. That is true growth. This is your journey, no one else's. Not the person who disappointed you, not the person who let you down, yours. And as you move forward, remind yourself daily that you do not need to react. You do not need to chase. You do not need to hold on to the weight of what could have been. You are free to let go. You are free to focus on yourself. You are free to choose peace. Because at the end of the day, the greatest power you will ever hold is the power over your own mind. And when you master that, there is nothing that can shake you. The journey to mastering acceptance is not just about dealing with disappointment. It's about reclaiming your power, your peace, and your sense of self. It's about shifting the way you respond to life so that you are no longer at the mercy of other people's actions, emotions, or decisions. You've now seen what happens when you stop reacting. You've understood the power of detachment, the strength of silence, the necessity of boundaries, the importance of investing in yourself, and the unexpected effect of leaving people to sit with their own actions. You've also learned that self-compassion and forgiveness are not just acts of kindness toward others, but essential steps in setting yourself free. But knowing these things is not enough. You must embody them. You must make the conscious choice day after day to stop chasing, to stop over-explaining, to stop giving energy to people who don't respect it. You must be willing to let go of old patterns, of the need for validation, of the belief that someone else's approval determines your worth. And most importantly, you must trust yourself, because at the end of the day, everything you seek, peace, confidence, clarity, is already within you. You do not need external validation. You do not need to react to every disappointment. You do not need to hold on to what no longer serves you. What you need is already here, the ability to stand firm, to accept what you cannot control, and to move forward with an unshakable mindset. This is not about becoming indifferent. It's about becoming untouchable. And when you truly embrace this, when you make acceptance your default response to life, you will find something you may not have expected: freedom. The kind of freedom that allows you to walk away from anything that disrupts your peace without hesitation. The kind of freedom that makes you immune to manipulation, guilt, or emotional games. The kind of freedom that allows you to exist fully in your own power, knowing that nothing outside of you has control over your mind, your emotions, or your destiny. And that is the ultimate goal, not just in relationships, but in life. So as you move forward, remind yourself of this truth every day. You are not defined by how others treat you, but by how you choose to respond. And when you choose acceptance, you choose strength, you choose self-respect, you choose peace. And that, more than anything else, is what will set you apart.